Oi. Wow, okay, so live today. I wanted to do this. I'm in Spain, actually, in Valencia, just hanging out with my girlfriend. But I wanted to have a live. I know I usually do Tuesday evenings for 3/4 of an hour, so I wanted to do an hour just to catch up with people a little bit and to gives it like a feel of consistency, that can maintain it. So I'm very happy if anyone's got a question they wanna put in, or otherwise I'll just chat along. I've been out in the sun today, gone a little bit red, I think. It's not as sunny as we'd hoped it would be, but because the winter's been pretty kind of quite long in the UK, but nevertheless a bit of sun, which was lovely. Got on the Playa Malvarosa and kind of windy. Had a bit of a swim, all that kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, what should I say? I don't know. It's been great doing the bio recently. I've been I'm doing. I can't really do a belly meditation here because it's a bit too noisy, belly activation thing in the mornings. But I can do bow and arch, and it is just, I don't know. It's like, because I had this thing in my ankle when I was a kid. My posture has never really been perfect. Most people wouldn't notice it, but I had to have operations on it when I was a kid. And yo, Luigi, hey, hey man, yeah, I'd have operations on it when I was a kid, and then I think it affected my posture a little bit. And when I first started to learn bioenergetics, and I was doing it a lot, I could not really do the bow position properly, and I came to start doing it with like something under my heels, because my legs did not quite, I don't know, the ankle didn't have the same mobility as other people. But now I can do it without something under my heels, and it's shaking a lot out somewhere. So, even though I've been into this stuff for years, I'm still finding a lot of areas where I'm growing and developing with it, and able to get more deeply inside myself, and it's kind of a reminder how these, when you have these conditions as a kid, how long stuff can kind of last, till you manage to get to it, to clear it out a bit. So, hey Luigi, yeah, you started the belly activation again. I remember you were having like really extreme dreams or something like that. So yeah, you started again. I haven't done it for a couple of days. I kind of miss it a little bit, but the bow and arch is good. It's curious, because I thought you'd like to think in some ways, you do this practice like the bioenergetics for a therapeutic reason, and I guess the idea originally in my mind and most people's minds is, you do that for a therapeutic reason, and then you go and have a holiday, you clear stuff out. But I find I just get into it, or I don't really enjoy my day as much if I don't do it in the morning, if I don't keep opening the body. So it's become, the last couple of years for me, quite a permanent practice basically. Whereas when I started doing therapy or started doing groups, my original kind of model inside my mind was this was something you do and then, be fixed and then sail off into the distance. And to a degree that is true, in that, a lot of stuff does resolve and clear up, and my social personality got a lot more functional and all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there was there's still more always, and it's also, I don't know, it's so pleasurable to get more inside the body, is the bottom line at the end of the day for me. Okay. Exhausted from the weekend with someone else on that. I think this guy about Trump and Jesus is obviously looking for somewhere to put that idea out from his mind. I don't know. And exhausted from weekend racks. Yay, man. Yeah, great you went to do a whole weekend of the bio. I hope it went good for you. Yeah, it's good. What's good about doing a whole weekend is that you really can get right in there. I tend to have a kind of maintenance dose is what I'm doing mostly for myself. And when you have a whole weekend, then you can open up in the morning, and then you can just go get deeper into stuff after that. So it is great to have a whole weekend. And I've got a whole day coming up in about a week's time, actually. In fact, less, it's this Sunday, actually. I'll be back in the UK. That's in London. I'm looking forward to that. I still got places on that workshop if anyone's up for it. When the sun comes out, people get less interested in groups, but which I understand, but it's going to be an awesome day. I enjoy doing the London groups. I don't know, I lived in London for like 20 years, and despite the huge level of change it's been through, I still really love the place. So yeah, I don't know, it's just so great to go and do something in London. It feels kind of significant for me. Miguel Oliveira. Hey Devaraj, hey Miguel. I hope everything's good with you, man. And yeah, so that's going to be, I mean, London is going to be fun. Last year we did one there, and it was like 35 fucking degrees. It was like the hottest day all year, probably all half a decade. It was mental, absolutely mental, but great workshop nonetheless. And it is good to get in for a decent length of time every now and again. The end of June I'm doing a thing called Spiritual Boot Camp. I mean, I might retitle that at some point. It's basically a 3-day intensive when you can really get in there, get open and clear layers and layers of stuff from your system. So it's going to be 3 days of quite intense therapeutic process, but we have fun in the evenings. I always have this kind of work mentality from just from when I was a kid. You know, you work. Okay, now we're going to work. Now we're going to do some heavy therapeutic stuff, and later on we're going to just hang out and have a good time, or drink a beer, or chill out in the sauna, or whatever. So I'll bring that same kind of dynamic into the spiritual boot camp thing. I want to get behind that workshop and really bring it out there. I'd like to get out into Europe and lead more stuff. I don't think there's so much deep therapeutic work going on. There is stuff going on, but I don't know, I feel like it's really a time when people have kind of, I don't know, they've got, we're so wrapped up in our minds and our phones nowadays, and it's like people also wanting to come out of that world, or, you know, get more out of life. So I want to bring that in, or want to bring the possibility for them to do that in. Okay. In which part of the body can we release more anxiety? Greetings from Portugal. Hey Miguel. Well, I mean, anxiety is basically, you know, it's a belly thing, I think, at its core. I mean, there's main centers in the body, I think, really, like the gut, the heart, and the mind. And to a degree, I'm sure anxiety can be relieved by opening any of these. But I think the gut is the core of it, you know. I want to start doing workshops about anxiety, but I haven't quite got there yet. I'm running some depression groups at the moment, and anxiety is kind of similar in a way. I need to get a slightly deeper take on it. But if you do this belly activation that I've got on my YouTube site, that should start to help with it. I mean, you find, of course, with anxiety, you know, we're simultaneously pulled into something that interests us and simultaneously scared by it, and find our bodies almost automatically going into a reaction, you know, like nervousness or fear, stuttering, whatever. And it's all at some deeper level, I think, a dysfunction of the breath that's set up in early childhood, you know, where we're not breathing deeply enough and not really, you know, present enough inside our body. And so the corrective path is to start to breathe more deeply, to open up the chest, open up the gut, breathe more deeply, and really allow yourself to just feel everything, basically. And it is a challenge. It's challenging, you know, to feel sometimes the intensity of what's held inside of us. But it's somewhere, you know, it's real, you know, as opposed to sometimes we go through life covering everything over, and yeah, it's not so real, hey? It's not so real. You know, buying things or doing things just to kind of cover up the holes inside of us. There's a guy, Egyptian-American, I think he's Almas, something like that, H.A. Almas, A.A. Almas. And he wrote this thing a few years ago called The Theory of Holes. And it's great. I mean, it's a great thing. It just says, basically, there are like energetic gaps inside our being. And most people are spending their life trying to hide them in some way, or not get in there, or fill them with something that's not real, and essentially they're areas where we don't feel in our life, and we've lost contact with the feelings, through trauma, through conditioning, through just not wanting to, just trying to keep a front up all the time, and it's like, at some point, hopefully we get interested to say, hey, what's in there, and can I get in there? And it's like, at that time, we start to become real, we start to say, okay, I want to look at what this part of my life where I haven't looked before, I want to look at this, and it's part of my role to keep doing that for myself, and to also, make it okay for others to do that, because a lot of what we learn in life when we're younger, particularly in the teenage years, is just to make it look good on the surface, and that's enough, and it's not enough. I'm just going to put a little bit of light on here somewhere. It's not enough, to make it look good on the surface, and to just keep on trucking through, and then having ritual behaviours that you don't really like but that you do, or drinking too much, or smoking too much weed or whatever, or cigarettes. Somewhere it's like we have to start calling ourselves as people, and younger people have to get into this a bit more somewhere, in a sense, because the culture is not going to do it. Whilst we're in this kind of economy as I see it, the encouragement is to just keep on buying stuff, but the problem is that you can keep on buying things, but it's trying to fill up a hole inside of you, and the buying doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. And so, of course, it suits the economy, because then you have to buy something else for next week or whatever it is. But somewhere, if humanity is going to move forwards, and I think we're making a lot of progress in a lot of ways, then we have to buy stuff. Absolutely. I'm now 22. I started to have OCD 12 years old after some things happened in my life that changed myself from an extroverted guy to one who can't talk to long term. Wow, that's sad, man. That's sad. That's a shame. I know what it feels like, I was very introverted when I was young, and I was very shy, and it was just it was not really me. It was just something I learned to as a defense, because I didn't want people to see the feelings inside of me. So I learned this defense, of just kind of keeping away from people, I also learned to be quite hard on the outside and keep people at a distance, There's all sorts of behaviours, but most of the behaviours, they revolve around the same underlying wounds, or the same underlying desire to cover up and hide, which is kind of somewhere is our cultural norm. So I think it's great, man, at age 22, you're getting into this kind of thing. I think that's really impressive, man. I salute you. Because I didn't start till I was in my late 30s. And I'm just happy I could do it then, Of course, like everybody's starting to get into therapy in their later years. Yeah. It's like at first you wish you'd started this shit 20 years before, and then at some point you're just happy you can do it now. And I don't think it matters what age you are. I really don't think it matters what age you are, man. But it's certainly awesome that you get going when you're 22, because I see it more often, Before, young guys were really not interested, I mean, I don't know, the culture I was brought up in, there was no encouragement to get out there and bare your soul in any way. No fucking way. You just did what you had to do to keep up appearances and to look good, to fit in with the culture, and to hope, that you got a good girlfriend or whatever. Just everyone trying to be some kind of alpha male stereotype, all the guys, and and everyone it was like a kind of monoculture in a way, brought up in Essex and London in the 70s, and it took me a long time to start to ask, hey, what else is going on? Is there a side effect of doing bioenergetics of being really tired? I mean, really tired, like as if you're taking drugs. I mean, a couple of things come up to me when you write that, Luigi. One thing is, it can be that we do need to sleep, and we've been driving ourselves forwards for a long time, and we actually need to get more rest. Another thing is, for people with a drug using background at all or history, as you get into bioenergetics, you're opening up the body, you're opening up the cells, you're opening up old memories from the past. You're opening up all sorts of states that your body's been in, maybe when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 15 and stuff like that. So you're opening that whole area of your life up. So, that can also be something that goes on. And people can find themselves getting very tired, and you have to just judge for yourself. You have to judge for yourself really whether... You have to just judge for yourself whether whether you whether it's something that's good and you need to sleep more and get some more rest, or whether it's something like an old state from the past that's just coming back up to be confronted in a sense, not given into. So it's tricky sometimes. It's tricky. The thing is to give yourself enough space. To try and try to confront, or try to just see how it goes. It's difficult sometimes. It's really difficult to know when stuff comes up, what's a good position with it. Generally, some level of confrontation is good, just to check it out. I've definitely had times when I realised I needed to sleep more. For a long time, when I started doing groups, I was very high energy, and I could survive on 5 or 6 hours sleep a night maximum, and often less, and I felt that I was fine. And at some point I realised I did need to sleep more. But when you say tiredness, like I've taken drugs, I think you just got to look, is that like some earlier part of your life when you were maybe involved in drug culture, or is it more like you just really need to rest more and try, and also see, is your body giving you the downtime? Do you give it the downtime? What's the best thing to do when repressed emotions start appearing on the exercises? Be with them, breathe on them, not identifying. Well, the thing is not, yes, in a sense, basically, is to feel. But what can be useful is not to go in, because usually when old feelings come up, there's a lot of storying going on in the mind as well. The feeling is somewhere in the body, and the exercise or whatever's going on is bringing it up. And there can be a story in the mind which will try and pull you away from that feeling in some way. And the best thing is to just breathe and feel what's happening inside your body, because then your body can process. So, if in fact it's a strong marker that something's happening if you're getting a lot of thoughts, the bottom line of which is you should stop doing the exercise. That's a strong marker that something's going on. We have layers, that awareness is kind of layered in a way. I'm going to do a little story about this sometime on YouTube. But when stuff starts to come up from the exercises, often one of the middle layers of our awareness, kind of at a sort of limbic level, starts to try and take us out of that feeling by getting us to stop the exercise. And so we find something else very important to do, or we minimalize it, and we're so flexible with our minds these days. It's quite a challenge. In fact, it's the biggest challenge if you're working on your own, to stay disciplined and with something when essentially your mind is telling you not to stay. And you may not even be feeling anything yet. You may not be aware of it yet, because they're like layers before something really becomes conscious. But when you are aware that something's going on and it's something repressed, breathe and feel. Breathe and feel your body. Simple as that, because that will allow it to process. And the reality is, for most repressed feelings, is we actually have to go deeper into them. That's the bottom line. In order to clear them, we have to go deeper in there. And it is useful, as you say, not identify. It is useful, at least, if not, don't attach to the story too much, particularly if the story is all going the same way, always the same. Don't attach to the story too much, and just feel what's happening in the body as much as you can. That's a good practice. Which part of the body should we work on more if we have depression? Depression is classically, I think any of the bioenergetic exercises are good for depression, to be honest, because it's essentially, it may be even coming from your DNA, they're finding now, but it's a way that the mind has of not confronting certain repressed aspects of our being. If we've been repressing, classically, depressives repress anger. Not always, but classically, kind of, traditionally in terms of therapy, modern therapy, they repress anger, and so it can be useful to work on that if you think there might be some substance in that. If you look at your self-psychology, to actually work fully expressing anger and starting to come out and really put it out. That's very confrontational if you've been afraid of anger for a long time or it's not been your thing. But that's certainly one part of the psyche that you can really look at. You know, there are therapists around who work in that area, or you can look for exercise. But with depression generally, you know, you need to get your body moving. You know, in many ways, you can see depression as essentially, you know, it's the same old story playing around the mind. This is what a lot of people with depression will say. You have to get out of that story. You know, you have to get the fuck out of that story and allow something to process. You have to allow something to process so that you can move. You know, you need to move your body. You know, nowadays in America, and they're starting to in the UK, they're starting to give people, you can get like a gym membership or something like that on the state. You know, you don't have to pay for it, because it can be really useful just to keep your body moving. The problem with depression is because it's very, very mental in a way, but it really keeps your body under control. You know, it keeps you not moving, not breathing, not feeling. It's like a learned defensive strategy for feelings. And, you know, it takes quite a commitment from the individual. You need to get the willpower up, you know, first of all, and then you need to really keep moving your body, basically. That's the basic suggestion for depression. And if you're able to, then working with anger can be very, very useful. Miguel: I tried EFT tapping and shadow work, but I have to remember past events. I do that, but no emotions come up. I think that. Yeah, man, that's normal. And for sure, these tapping things are great. You know, to almost to reassure the unconscious that you want to feel and to try and go into stuff. But you know, when you get to work with the body, then you're going right into where the stuff is. Basically, when you work with bioenergetics, you're saying, okay, now I'm going to go in there. So you need to either work with a therapist or slowly develop a practice, a daily or at best weekly, ideally daily, but otherwise weekly practice, where you can start to open the body up. You know, bow and arch, this belly activation, working with the shoulders, working with the legs, this kind of thing, working with the pelvis, you know, 5 key areas. And progressively, what they'll do, they'll bring the feelings that are repressed to the surface. And sometimes you may find yourself in the feelings. Other times stuff may process without you having to go right into the feelings. So it's not like a perfect kind of science in that sense, but it's like you know, you're on a journey with it. You're on a journey with it, and it will move stuff over time. It won't always be like, you know, if you're doing traditional psychotherapy, people are going to try and direct you into the feelings for therapist, and it depends on the trust, on your body openness, on your mind openness. And maybe it moves something or maybe it doesn't. You know, with the body, then you go in deeper and more direct. What's the difference between bioenergetics and other body therapies? Well, you know, the other two that I know are essentially rebirthing, which is a little bit more left field. It's a breathwork technique. And there's also things, I mean, I worked a lot with emotional expression, which is good, but you can't really teach it online. And you need to do it with people who can hold the space properly, which I can, but it's group work mostly, or some of it can be one-to-one. Otherwise, there's things like somatic techniques, I know, and massage techniques, you know, myofascial release, all of which is good, but they also rely on you paying money for a therapist on an ongoing basis. And sometimes, in a way, they don't open the body up in the way that I think it would naturally open. So bioenergetics is mind-directed, and it is you know, specifically intended to take out the influences of repression. So it's something you can try, and if you get into it, you know, then you can do some sessions with workshop leaders or therapists like myself, but then you can also have a daily practice, you know, with myofascial release massage, for example. You need to go and see someone each week or whatever, each couple of weeks, to keep them moving you along. It can be quite expensive and a little bit disempowering in a sense. You know, it's kind of nice to have something you can do yourself that moves things along. And I think bioenergetics is the best for that, because it is okay to do it on your own. You know, it is okay to do it on your own. Sometimes it's definitely good to work with a therapist, and other times you can really do it on your own, and you slowly develop the kind of intuitive awareness of what's going on in your body and how to keep moving deeper. So I think it's very good. It's a very good practice, good value for money. Hope that answers the question. Amazing. Hey Miguel, I'm happy if it can support you, and go for it, man. Keep moving deeper within yourself. How long should we practice bioenergetics to feel released? I mean, it's not like a scientific thing on an exact level, but you just need to get in there. And what was useful for me was to have clear goals, like stuff I wanted out of life. Initially was to get a girlfriend when I started to do therapy, because I hadn't had one for years. So I thought I'm too fucked up to get one. So I need to do some therapy. And then I got a girlfriend after some groups, and then I was kind of back on the relationship thing then, and that was good. So it can be useful to have a goal, to know when you want to be, because otherwise, if you're just saying, well, I want to release all the repressed feelings, it's not so tangible in a sense. If you're aware of where you're blocked on a psychological level, like, you get very nervous talking to attractive people, or you feel like you're avoiding taking power in your life, if you feel like it's hard to confront situations where somewhere you should confront, that's very useful. If there is stuff like that psychologically for you, then it's very, very useful to put that out in a sense, or at least be really aware of it, because then you can kind of see, how am I moving forwards? Can I now talk to the prettiest woman in the club? Can I now, go up to my boss and say, look, I'm not happy about this, and be centered with it? Am I no longer avoiding bringing up my mum, or whatever it is, whatever, where you see yourself kind of not really stepping up, then you can, it's much easier to measure that stuff, because it's there in your life and your feeling. Whereas we don't have a way at the moment of knowing how much repressed material, kind of measuring it in the body. As far as I'm aware, scientists haven't done anything like that, and maybe they will or maybe they won't, but it is fairly easy to say, hey, where in my life am I not really stepping up? Am I not really giving it? Am I not really going for it? Where in my life am I doing that? And then look with therapy, that also brings stuff closer to the surface. That level of self-honesty primes your unconscious more to release, so that you can have the best life you can have, and be really satisfied with it, and feel like, wow, I'm really fucking living, So that's what I'd advise, because we don't have a way to measure, So then you get started with bioenergetics, and you just see, does it help me? Does it help me? Do I think it has potential for me, or is it not working for me? Do I need to do something else? Because another bottom line is, you need to also be able to take responsibility for yourself as much as you can. That's also very important. We come from a culture where, like in America, for example, if a medicine goes wrong, or the operation doesn't quite do what you think, you can litigate. You can get a lawyer, and you can go and sue people and stuff like that. And that's, in a sense, I think that's good, because maybe someone did fuck up and they're not acting responsibly, and maybe the medical services can improve. But it also sets up an unhealthy psychological dynamic, or it can do if you're not careful, in that, you put the whole responsibility for your changing, for your getting better, on the outside. And that's not a healthy thing to do usually. It's not usually a healthy thing to do. If you're going to have surgery, for example, life-saving surgery, then to a degree you've got to put the responsibility on the outside, but at the same time you obviously do your best to make sure you get it done best as you can. But with your life, as much as you can take responsibility, the more it will move you forwards. So I'm just talking around a little bit here. If anyone else has got a question, do go for it. I think with bioenergetics, if you can do it daily, that's fucking awesome. And if you can do it once a week, it's also fucking awesome. If you can only do it once a month, it's still great. It's still great. You just gotta get into it. And the thing that what happens with people is they accept too little. If you ask me, they accept too little. And if you look at people who are successful, they don't. They tend not to. They say, "I want the best. I want to keep moving forwards." So, if you can just develop that as an attitude as well, it's really, really beneficial, because then you can, push yourself to go a little bit deeper as well, to say, hey, I want to do better than I am now, and to believe in yourself, which almost, there's stuff you can do to improve your self-belief, absolutely, but time and again, what I find is I have to take a position to really, put myself number one, to believe in myself and to move forwards. I have to do it, because if I'm not going to do it, who the fuck else is going to do it? Let's face it, it's not reality. Okay guys, we're at half an hour. I got another 15-20 minutes if anyone's got a question that you'd like to. Yeah, I can feel my body, my top, locking up a little bit up there. I guess I'm in a little Airbnb place with my girlfriend. I'm not quite so fully expressive as I am sometimes, and I don't want to kind of make a lot of noise. Yeah, whereas I'm by nature quite a kind of sort of person a little bit. It's challenging sometimes when I feel like I have to hold myself in a bit. Anyway, so let's see if I've missed any questions here. But no, great guys. So if there's someone out there with a question and you're kind of like, should I, shouldn't I, maybe take a risk and just fucking go for it, because at the end of the day, the sooner you get started, the sooner stuff can move. Basically, simple as that. The sooner you get started, the sooner stuff can move. Very often I see with clients, that they're getting moved on it. They're getting together to say, okay, now I'm going to commit. I'm going to come and do this with you, or I'm going to come and do this workshop somewhere, or whatever, And there's times when they're open, when they can see, hey, I really want to move forward. I really need to do something, and I'm just going to pick up the computer, the phone, whatever, book it and do it, But that time maybe only be 5 minutes of a week, the time when they're clear enough. And then if they don't do something in those 5 minutes and commit, then there's a whole backdraft of thinking coming in the next 10 minutes that tells them not to bother and just to do this instead or whatever. Someone I remember from a few years ago who I'd been working with was going to sign up for this really intense 1 month process, and brilliant process over in Holland. And then she was ringing me, but I wasn't even involved in the process. I'd done it myself a few times. It was great, but it was like. And then she kept wanting to kind of change it or drop it a little bit or come, and she just kind of backed down and backed down and backed down. And I saw it so clearly and it was so human, so fucking human, We get a bit of head of energy together. Okay, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move forwards. And then if we don't take the step real quick, we prevaricate, and the mind comes back in and negotiates its way into us end up, in the end, I think she did go and do the process in the end actually, but the way she was going on, I said, man, if you just keep on going like this, you'll end up booking one yoga class instead of this 1 month process, and you probably won't turn up to that. And she had to admit it was true, it was true. It's how it goes. I live with my college friends, great. Bioenergetics can be loud. What would you suggest to do bio with 4? It's great to do it with some people. It's great to do it with 3 or 4 of you. I think it's totally fine if you're into it, Get some bow and arch going together, and it's good when you have peers around who are also into stuff, and also at some point you can start to give each other a bit of feedback, in a supportive way about stuff they could improve or whatever, it strengthens everything, not to be an excuse to dump a lot of shit on people, but, for young guys in particular, you can really support each other to stand up and do stuff, I think it's awesome if there's a group of you want to do it together, just get together and do it, it's so healthy to do this work. And kind of out there in society, they're starting to say it now, but young guys are kind of left without any direction. I think in the old days, in a much more tribal culture, men had to go through a lot of trials. They had the elders of the tribe, the father level or whatever, and the grandfathers would support young men to really stand up and be the best. And the society we're living in is like totally not doing that. You're just left to get some job somewhere, which is probably crap, and you end up married when you're like 21 or something, and like shit, you hardly had a fucking life or something, it's a fucking mess, but hopefully the society picks it up a little bit more, and I think it's absolutely great if you want to get into bio, 3 or 4 of you. Is the body more powerful than the mind since bioenergetic focus on it? Powerful, well, it depends what you mean by powerful, because of course the mind can be very powerful, and when we focus on the body, because that's really the root of where most of the stuff is held on a physical level. Say for instance you had a really traumatic time with your dad. He was really controlling motherfucker. That was your perception of him, you know, and he put you down a lot and he really controlled you and didn't let you stand up and really be, you know, strong. Say, I'm not saying this personally to you, but say as an example that for someone, if they had that, then you've got a certain amount of stored trauma in the body from that, you know, holding patterns essentially in the muscles, and you've also got mental behaviors which will have come from that. You know, your dad not believing in you, not, you know, keeping you under control all the time, give you certain mental behaviors and certain physical stuff stored. And really, you know, you need to work on both. A lot of what's been going on in therapy is working on the mental behaviors, but if you don't work on the physical as well, then you'll keep going back to the negativity anyway, because it wants to come out. So it's not so much, I think, that the body is more powerful than the mind. It's rather that we're trying to unify things, you know, we're trying to bring them together in a sense. And because the mind has different streams that are controlling our thinking process and our concept of who we are. You know, you've got this higher mind, the frontal lobes, trying to go good, trying to go for the positive. And then the midbrain, the more animal brain, is trying to get the shit out of the body. You know, it's trying to get, and the only way it knows to do that is to go back into all the crap emotions. So, you know, you find yourself, you know, say you are a young guy who had a real tyrant of a dad, sergeant major, always putting you down and stuff. You find yourself in similar situations where those emotions are triggered. You can't seem to stop it, you know, it just seems to happen. Because basically this midbrain is trying to drag you back in there. So, you know, then you need to get ahead of it and start to really, you know, start to get the crap out of the body. You know, you need to say, okay, I need to release. If you're habitually getting into negative situations in life, that somewhere you know is not supporting you, if you're habitually attracted to the same kind of man or woman, that somewhere you know it's not really healthy, you know, it's because there's stuff in the body that needs to come out. Simple as that. Because this animal part of the mind, the lower mind, whatever you want to call it, you know, it has control over a lot of our instinctual behavior. And when it comes to stuff like sex, when it comes to stuff like friendships, when it comes to stuff like, not friendship, not quite so much, but sex and power, you know, it has a lot of control. And so you unless you get the stuff out of your body, it's hard to be really clear with stuff like sex and power. It's hard to be clear. You have to get it out, really. There's no other way. Your mind will keep hijacking you otherwise. Okay, so if you've got a question there, just go for it. Harley, hey Harley, do you know how to get tension from between the shoulder blades without hitting something? Yes, I mean, there's a whole load of techniques you can do with your shoulders, and I've got some on my bioenergetics YouTube channel, you know, bringing the shoulders forwards and walking around and back and then up and stuff. There's all sorts of things you can do with your shoulders. So there's workouts there that you can follow along with. There's quite a good one I put up about 3 weeks ago called something like Teenage Resistance Freak Out, something like that. You can look for that one. Or go out and look for some of my early bioenergetic workouts, the ones with numbers like number 1, number 2, and some of those is arms and shoulders release. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with the arms and the shoulders to get it out, you know. And if you do it regularly, you know, you'll find it'll help. It'll help a lot. Yeah, hitting something can also be good. The thing with hitting stuff is you've got to kind of know how to do it properly, in a sense. Because there's therapeutic ways of hitting that are better than others. Some of that I cover as well. Thanks. No worries, Harley. So, okay, I've got about another 5-10 minutes. If anyone's got a question, you're sitting on a little bit, time to be brave and just stick it out. Useful for round shoulders. Yeah, I mean, also these shoulder exercises are a good start, and to be honest, anything is good for round shoulders. I mean, I think it's on a psychological level somewhere, taking too much responsibility is a kind of part of it. And, you know, I think the bow and arch, the belly activation and the shoulder workouts are you can use any of those or ideally all 3 of them, you know, rotating a little bit between them, and that will move a lot. That will start to move a lot. Yeah, it can, you know, there's a lot. This teenage resistance freak out, you could try that and see what it does, you know, because the teenage years, in a sense, are when we really throw off taking too much responsibility. in a sense, you know, when you have this time just to be fucking free, you know, young and wild and free, as a Snoop Dogg song goes. And you know, you could just go out and have a laugh, but for many of us teenagers, we didn't really fully do that, and we didn't throw off all the crap our parents kind of imprinted on us in those years. So, you know, if you feel like you haven't done that fully, some of these bioenergetic workouts can definitely help, because they take you psychologically back, in a sense, to the teenage years. And round shoulders is something you can definitely work on with bio, and you can move it, you know. No worries. Okay, so I'm going to give it another 5 minutes, and then then I'm going to pop off and have a cup of tea. I find myself a bit bewildered by different kind of work, shaking, screaming, stretching, all kinds of yoga like movements. Where should I start if I want to seriously do bioenergetics? Well, I would start with stuff like the belly activation and the bow and the arch and some of the shoulder workouts. That's what I would start. Yes, it can seem a bit bewildering, and it's great you're being so honest to say that. So I appreciate you for that. Yeah, I mean, don't let that bewilderment stop you from getting stuck in there. You know, that's the thing. And you don't need to go crazy at first. You can stay with something like the bow and the arch, which is quite a challenging exercise anyway. And just remember to really get in there and feel, you know, feel and breathe while you're doing the positions. That's the main thing. And it's something that not all therapists who work with bio pick up on. I pick up on it a lot, because I needed to do it a lot. So I pick up other people up on it a lot. But, you know, don't let the sense of bewilderment stop you. I had some girlfriends who used to get, it reminds me, you know, very bewildered when they'd see anything remotely technical. And, you know, it's kind of disempowering is what I saw. You know, they would just kind of assume that because it had got like lights and buttons on it, computer or whatever, they just couldn't do it. And it's kind of disempowering in a way, I think, you know, so don't let the bewilderment, sometimes also bewilderment can also be like an adaptive strategy to not change as well. We get very confused. People have different strategies, you know, some people get tired when anything kind of traumatic starts to remind them of old stored trauma. They suddenly get tired. I've seen people even fall asleep in workshops, you know, literally because the stuff's coming out of their body and their defense mechanism to get tired. Others get bewildered or confused, or it's all too much, and off I go out the door, you know. So don't allow, it's very good that you're so honest about your feelings, and don't allow that to hold you back. You know, you have a right to develop and keep moving forwards, and these mental states will not, you know, they don't have to control you. They don't have to control you. And it can seem a bit bewildering at first, but, you know, after a while it will make sense. It'll make sense, because we're all used to somewhere navigating ourselves with the body. We learn it as a very small child, navigating our way around with the body. So it's not like a super complex psychotherapeutic or some, you know, spiritual theories or more complex psychologies, you know, can be a bit fucking bewildering, frankly. But when you work with the body, you know, it is pretty straightforward, because we all know where the arms are or where the pelvis is. Thank you for asking. I've got time for one or two more. So if you've got a little question out there, just stick it out. I also do one-to-one sessions on Skype. I'm also running workshops in London, Brighton, and longer ones in Dorset, the centre where I live. So, you know, feel free to just get in touch. You can always email me, devaraj227@gmail.com. Drop me a line. I'm happy to keep moving things forward for people. I think that's what, you know, that's what I feel a calling for in my work in life. You know, I try to give up kind of work in a sense sometimes, but it's always there. Hey, I want to get up and be the best I can and support others to do the same. And that's what I find keeps calling me back again and again. So, you know, I'm up there doing stuff, and you know, I'm happy to support people. Simple as that. Okay, so if anyone else has got a question, just go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to shut down for a couple of minutes. I've got a session in a little while on Skype anyway, but not till the hour. I'm here in Valencia. I love Valencia. It's a great town, you know. It's got somewhere. It's got everything, you know. It's got everything to it. Stuff I like. You can go to the beach, but it's not like a beach town, you know. and it's got lots of culture, lots of art, you know, great food and kind of street culture, street art, a lot of graffiti, you know, exciting graffiti, and there's all sorts of stuff going on here. I lived in Barcelona for a bit one summer when I was in my early 20s, and that was fucking awesome. But then the Olympics came and it kind of killed it for me, really. All the old mad crazy backstreet bars got kind of shut down and stuff. But Valencia still got something to me of an authentic Spanish, you know, city. Okay, anyway, I'm not getting any last questions, so I think I'm going to let this one go. Thank you for tuning in, and yeah, for sure, feel free to subscribe, or all those, what those Americans always say, hit what is it, thumbs up or something like that. Like it, yeah, like it. Do that. I'll be back next Tuesday. I'm going to try and do regular Tuesdays at 6 p.m. UK time. So it's actually, I think, 8 o'clock here, or nearly 8 o'clock here in Valencia. But I'll see you again. Okay. Bye for now, guys. Ciao. Hasta luego.